Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your man, Rich Kopech. Joined with me, my colleague here from the start, Matt. How we doing today, Matt? Hi.
I'm doing awesome. It's great to be back. Taking a step back from the hosting gig, I get to play with how you guys usually do. So I'm excited. We got a fun episode
Hey,
today.
I'm in the driver's seat today, so let's kick it off. But before we do actually kick it off, just want to give a quick shout out. We have upgraded our intro, and I just have to give the props to the man himself. Chris Felice has joined us here. You have heard his beautiful voice a little bit so far. Hopefully, a lot more of that to come. But just wanted to give a quick hats off to the man, or tip of the hat, I should say, to the guy who made the intro. It's wonderful. Yeah.
It's
So
awesome.
rolling into
We,
it.
we've been watching that like nonstop. Like, man, I can't wait to get to the next episode so we can bring this thing out. So awesome job. Glad to have you aboard, and let's get this thing rolling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, like always, quick question to start us out here. This one I think is I don't know if it was intentionally meant to sting each other here, but it kind of actually rolled out that way. So, nonetheless, question today is what has been your worst loss in fantasy? Matt, I'm gonna let you start this one off.
Yeah, we'll get this out of the way quick. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm gonna give two because I had one this week. To Warren Weber, who also joined us last week on the Thursday Dynasty show. Um, I needed Gabe Davis to catch a single ball. A single ball. It could have been for negative 2 yards, and I would have won going into the Monday night matchup. I lost by 0.25. I just needed Justin Herbert to score under 8.25 points. He scored 8.5. So that one stings a little bit. I tried to put the fantasy shaman hat on, didn't work. So I got to go back to the drawing board there. But hands down, my worst loss was against this guy. Didn't know which way the camera was going. In week 17. So championship week 2021 in our dynasty league. My team, I made a bunch of moves that year to get a win now team, made the playoffs for the third year in a row, made the finals for a third year in a row, just to get destroyed by Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow while I was sitting in my bed with COVID. So it just kind of added insult to injury. I'm just watching Jamar Chase just drop 3 touchdowns and 225 yards on me, and it was not fun. That ended my season, obviously, because it was the last game, and it also forced me into the rebuild that I'm still in right now. So it hurt, and it kind of sucks when that happens. But hey, we're here, and Rich will give you the next one. I enjoyed this one, so we'll just leave it at that. A little spoiler. What about you, Rich?
Yeah. So, I mean, I will always love that story, from here until probably the day that I die. Can't complain when you have those two on your team for sure. So, but mine is a sad story with the reverse role of where Matt actually beat me, this time in our redraft league, and it happened back in 2018. So we're talking years ago. Week 16, the finals. I had a great team at the time. I remember it had something about like Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Tyreek Hill. I'm pretty sure Michael Thomas when he was actually Michael Thomas. Just a great group of studs going on. Made it all the way to the end there. And yeah, for some reason, Aaron Rodgers on Matt's side over there dismantled the Jets that week with 442 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and also rushing for 32 yards and another two on the ground, 2 touchdowns on the ground. I watched my season end right before my eyes, and I mean, it came from a player that was, injured, questionable to play. I wasn't. It was like, the team's 6-8-1. They're not even in the real playoff contention there. Maybe, but for some reason Rodgers decides to have an absolute game, put up about 48 points on me, and basically just sailed off into the distance, and that was it. So fun times.
Oh, it
Yeah,
was
we're not
wonderful.
gonna.
It was against the Jets. I remember
All
that
right,
game
maybe
like it was yesterday. Oh, it was great. It was so much fun. I got payback a
it
couple
was
weeks
that.
later though, so
Yeah,
that's how it
well,
works.
here
But
we are.
it was a good
Yeah,
time.
so carrying on here to our next little segment here. Just a quick highlight of a player that you are looking at. A player that's coming up with the playoffs right now, the matchups here. So we're looking at, good matchups and players that might shine, might help you out there. So Matt, go ahead, lead that one off, man.
All right, so we're gonna go with Mr. DeAndre Swift, Philadelphia Eagles running back. So this is the playoff matchup right now. Seahawks, Giants, then the Cardinals in week 15 to 17. Perfect matchups. They're all bottom 12, and two of them are bottom 6. So that's what you want. Right now, Swift has been a 60% snap player ahead of everyone. Kenneth Gainwell's the closest at like 40, but he gets every now and then. It's more of a change of pace kind of guy. And those 60% snaps have been equating to almost about 19 opportunities per game. They're using their running backs a little bit more in the passing game than they typically have in the past. So that's a definite change from the previous couple seasons, going back even to Doug Peterson era. Um, and Swift is just getting it done. He's had a little bit of a rough spot the past couple games, but I do expect after this week's bye him to come out refreshed. The team is ready to roll, make that playoff push, go. They're going for another Super Bowl. They're trying not to lose to the Chiefs again. So that's going to be a major factor. The run game is working. The offense is a little bit different than it was. Jalen Hurts isn't running as much as he did. So a lot of those opportunities are going to the running back. The tush push or brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it. If he gets in near the 2 yard line, it's no longer Swift's job, but he gets everything else. And looking at him in the past, his main concern has always been, can this dude stay healthy? And unfortunately, the answer for that has been no. But this year, if he stays healthy, I don't see a path for him to not just absolutely smash in the playoffs. And he could very easily be a league winning running back if you get him. So if it's someone you want to target, being on a bye right now is actually perfect because everyone needs a running back. There's a lot of injuries around, and his price might be slightly lower. He comes back next week and goes crazy. You could shut that door and it ain't opening again. But right now, go to that desperate team. If they need a win, give him a player, get him. If you're in the playoffs already or it looks like you will be, make that move. And I promise you, it's going to be glorious. I have him in Dynasty, and I was debating on trading him, and I saw the playoff schedule. I ain't going to trade him. So, what about you, Rich?
Yeah, well, just kind of diving into that a little bit. I mean, DeAndre, definitely a great pickup from the beginning of the year. I mean, I think nobody, maybe not nobody, but it was a little skeptical at first, and kind of to see, or with the injury kind of thing going on. But it's not. It's great to see DeAndre in the position he's in. I agree. I mean, the Eagles are smashing, so why not take a piece of that, right?
The scary part
Running
was
into
week
my,
one, he got
oh,
0.3 points. Like he was
oh yeah,
not used. That was like crazy. Ever since then, it's been like, oh no, everyone else you're gonna be ahead of everyone because you're a lot better. So
yeah,
he's been on a
yeah,
good
for
roll.
sure. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, talking about another player here, I want to highlight another running back, and that is one Bijan Robinson. And I mean, it's crazy to really kind of, I guess, want to talk about him in the sense like this because I feel like he's still a player that everybody should start all the time. But I mean, there's so many question marks right now just because of the way that Arthur Smith is running his team. Um, I mean, we saw last week Tyler Algier get into more of the role there than Bijan. I think it was due to the fumble. He sat out of 2 drives, and I don't know. I just have so many question marks for that man. And I know that Matt over here agrees with me about our low for one Arthur Smith, but nonetheless, Bijan, I think you got to just stick with it, stay strong. I mean, it may be ugly again this week, but I think it starts to get better this week, really. I mean, I think actually we'll let Matt kind of carry that conversation on a little later. But for now, I just want to highlight the matchups that he has between weeks 15 through 17, and that is Carolina, Indianapolis, Chicago. Thank you. End of story. That's a great lineup right there. I mean, if you're riding with Bijan, if you can get yourself to that point, man, it's just pedal down. I think at that point, we're going to see the rookie kind of, use that full gas tank. I think that rookies normally kind of have and the juice that they have. So, yeah, no, I think Bijan is definitely going to be more utilized. I think Arthur Smith is going to have enough of hearing the nonsense or the people, the media, and everybody talking about what is he doing with this high draft pick players and whatnot. So I know it's confusing for now, but I think it's just I don't know. I think we're going to see definitely better days ahead for these players, Bijan especially. So,
Arthur Smith sucks.
mm,
That's I know that's crazy analysis, and I went to school for a long time to get to that point, but he just sucks, man. Oh my god. Just watching him coach a football team just irks me. We're gonna get into it, but it's so frustrating to watch. You see the excellent player that you drafted and all the players they drafted really high just not get used for absolutely no reason other than we're winning football games. So what I'm doing is working. It's like, no, it's not. You're lucking into these games. When luck runs out, you will be on the couch somewhere. And I hope it's very soon for everyone's sanity. I won't dwell on too much because this is like the third episode we've mentioned my disdain for Mr. Arthur Smith. But
yeah,
we can
no, but
continue.
it's a good reason. It's a good reason. But nonetheless, I mean, even to that point, I mean, you still got to stick with it. It's not like the snap count, is really favoring the other running backs in that room. I mean, Bijan is taking the majority of the snaps there. So, look, I mean, I get it. It's frustrating to watch Tyler Algier run into the end zone when it should be Bijan. I get that. But also, I think with the quarterback change, I mean, they did say Bijan is more of a weapon pretty much everywhere, right? So maybe with what Taylor Heineke can help with is to give more check down or at least some pass work over to the side, give something, open up some screen work to Bijan, or maybe some short passes that he can then be the athlete who he is and take it to the house. That we know he can. So
I
fingers
mean, you're
crossed.
betting on talent. You're betting on talent. And he is the most
Yeah,
talented player on that team, hands down by far. They're
without a
just
doubt.
not utilizing him in the way he should. When Jonnu Smith is getting goal line carries over your top draft pick, who has been compared to a generational talent, there's an issue. So
Yeah.
let's
I mean,
leave it there.
can we say maybe that possibly Arthur Smith just never had a weapon of this caliber and just doesn't know what to do? I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to give more reasons than anything, but
I think he
either
just
way.
sucks at coaching, but that's just me. I'm not an NFL coach, but I feel like it's staring you in the face. You have this kid that's amazing at everything he does. Him fumbling last week really sucked because that put doubt in his mind, in Arthur Smith's mind. Like, see, now it's justified. He gets these little lucky things where everyone wants to say no. That's not how it works, but it happens, and you're like, it's why my wish last week
Yeah.
was for everyone to beat the Falcons to get this out. But why don't we
All right.
continue on before we turn this into an Arthur Smith podcast?
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, we will circle back here in a little bit, but nonetheless, with that being said, let's jump into our heroes here. So I will start it off for us at this time, and with the hero of the week, my first one of the two, I'm going to go with Ramondre Stevenson here, versing against the Indianapolis Colts. I love the matchup. I think that there has been too much noise about Zeke, So I want to just kind of give a little more reassurance there towards the Ramondre Stevenson shareholders there. And so, I mean, look, I get it. It's annoying when you see other players take away the runs and all that. And at that point, it's just that looking into it a little deeper. I mean, he still is the leader in that snap share. So again, I'm not worried with old Zeke versus Ramondre and what he can do. I think it's more just a change of pace at this point, is how I view it. So, uh, Ramondre is the younger, more athletic, capable player. I mean, athletic player capable of, kind of being or doing the breakaway that we've seen. We checked the last week, the 64-yard screamer, definitely a good one there. So, it's encouraging to see, and nonetheless, the matchup this week is juicy. I mean, Indianapolis is not anything to be scared of whatsoever. They've been giving up the third most points over the last 2 weeks to running backs, second most points over the last month, and the fifth most points on the season. I mean, they are definitely a team you can take advantage of on the ground, and I think that a player like Ramondre is definitely going to be able to do so.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's been getting kind of a decent run lately. He got lucked out last week a little bit with that big run, but part of it is a positive in his favor because he can do that. Not a ton of backs can do that. Like I don't think Zeke is doing that right now. So those are going to be more shorter. You kind of know what to expect with these aging running backs at this point. But I like the call. I mean, the matchup is perfect for him. So hopefully he does pretty well for everyone who has him. All right, so we kind of teased it a little bit. We're going to circle back. My hero this week is going to be Bijan Robinson against the Arizona Cardinals. Been very vocal on other shows and this one already. That I do not like Arthur Smith and what he's doing with the generational talent that is Bijan Robinson. But things have to change. They just have to. They can't keep going on like this. Bijan is just way too talented to not get more opportunities in this offense. He's top 10 in rushing yards, top 3 in yards per carry, top 5 in yards after contact per attempt, top 6 in missed tackles forced, second in rushes over 10 yards, third in targets to the running back, and third in PFF's elusive rating. All of that despite being 22nd in total attempts. He's doing that on very little compared to some of these other guys, and he's outperforming all of them. It just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. The Cardinals' defense is just bad. They cannot stop the run at all. If Bijan can't get it done this week, despite Arthur Smith, then we will enter the Marvel multiverse. And at that point, I'm going to call for Thanos to start snapping because at that point, I'm done. If it doesn't work out this week, I don't know what will fix it, if anything, other than him no longer being in charge of play calling. But Bijan is amazing. He's been doing great this season, not for fantasy, but his statistics are off the charts. He's leading the league in multiple metrics that I just mentioned. He's got to get more run. This is a week where Tyler Algier, even if he gets opportunities, I think there's going to be enough to go around. So start Bijan. There's a little hesitation, but I'm doing it and I'm accepting the consequences because you got to bet on talent. And this kid has a lot more talent than a lot of other people. So, what is your take on Bijan this week? Because I know you have him in our redraft and you also have Tyler Algier. Are you playing both of them?
I mean, I'm racking my brain with this decision, and it's tough to decide really where I'm at. It's a good matchup. I like the Arizona Cardinals defense against running backs. So, am I playing Tyler Algier? I mean, if you really don't have other options, I don't see. I mean, I could see a shot. I mean, if you just have Algier, I would play him in the flex spot this week. Why not? Just because of what I saw last week. There is some decent players on bye weeks. So tough to make a call there. But overall, I do like Algier more so than not. A couple players
Kyler's
I think
back
I'm
this week
playing.
too. Again, on the other side of
What?
the ball. Kyler's back this week too on the other side of the ball.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's going to be a different Cardinals. Their defense is still going to be bad. Just because the quarterback is back doesn't make the defense good. But they could be in different situations on the defensive side of the ball, which will force or hopefully force the offenses to do some different things. So that's the only thing that has me a little hesitant, because if he puts up a bunch of points, they're probably going to abandon the run game a little bit more than they normally do. They're still going to run the
Yeah.
ball because it's an Arthur Smith offense, and he likes to just drain the clock, run the clock out, slow down the opposing team. But that's the only thing that might have a little hesitation in my mind. But
No, yeah,
still
that's a
playing.
solid point actually. I keep forgetting that Kyler is back at this point. So yeah, no, you're right. There might be definitely more passing attack than anything else. So
Which
all
should
right.
help Bijan. So
Yeah, for sure. So all right, moving on then to my next hero. That'll be Christian Kirk against the Niners this week. I like Kirk. I mean, I don't hate Ridley either, but this seems to be the debate pretty much that
yeah,
we're
you
going
just
with
hate
as
Puka,
far as
not really.
yeah,
You ain't getting out of that.
Puka. I like Puka. Get over it. So look, Kirk, Ridley, great players both. That offense seems to be buzzing. Good time to have Trevor Lawrence. I think right now, I definitely like how the schedule looks for the Jags. So I think for me, just looking at this particular matchup this week with the wide receivers, 49ers, they're giving up points to the wide receiver position. Their third most fantasy points, pretty much consistent. Last 2 weeks, month, season, third most fantasy points given up. Consistent, so that's what you like. Obviously, they added or they have the addition now of Chase Young. So something to monitor. Maybe they take a little bit of a step back with him, but still Chase Young. Um, it's not a world beater. I mean, I don't know. It's not something that's really, really concerning me too much. I think that Trevor Lawrence is still going to have a good game, and with that, I mean his wide receivers will as well. So it's third highest point total on the week by Vegas. So yeah, definitely want some pieces in here. High scoring potential. I think these two teams, Niners coming off the two losses, anger there for sure. So I think with that, with the rest, there should be, back to kind of a better strength. And at that point, I think we're going to see a better performance. And same thing really with the Jags, as they have been rolling. They are definitely a good team. And it's, also what they also just rested. So I like the components there. Should be a good matchup. It's just I lean the Kirk versus the Kirk Ridley way. So that's just how I feel on that.
Yeah, this is you know, the Niners are getting healthier, but I know you're not worried about Chase Young. For me, I'm a little worried just because the offensive line on the Jags has been playing good. They're not great, but he's taking a little bit of sacks, and having him and Nick Bosa going at the quarterback is definitely not going to be fun. But that could also help Kirk too, because he's going to want to get the ball out quick, and Kirk is predominantly in the slot. He's not an outside wide receiver most of the time, so he's going to be looking at those over the field, middle of the field shots, and PPR leagues is going to be where he makes his hay. Uh, it's been very disappointing. It was a tease week one with Calvin Ridley getting like 11 targets, and I took a victory lap, and it was way too early. But I do think this passing attack gets a little bit better. Travis Etienne cannot rush for 2 touchdowns a game anymore. it's it's
Yes, they
insane.
can.
I don't think so. He could maybe, but I do think it's going
Please.
to take a slight step back in the rushing attack, which will force them to throw the ball some more. He could be used in the passing attack too, but it's just the rushing game has been too good to change anything, and I think that's been hurting Calvin Ridley specifically. Christian Kirk has been, the same guy he was last year, even better. So I like the call. This could be a high scoring affair. Depends on how the defenses play, but could be a good one. All right, so my final hero of the week here is going to be a tight end, someone that we should be paying attention to, especially now, is Trey McBride going against the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm staying in this game. So apparently I like hurting myself watching a Falcons game, but Kyler Murray is back this week. He is going against the Falcons, who are not very good on the defensive side of the ball. They've had a couple good games, but if you look at it, they didn't really play the best teams to show up against. So Trey McBride right now has been getting a ton of work, especially since Zach Ertz is on IR a few weeks ago. Coming off a real disappointing week for the Cardinals, they couldn't move the ball past the 35-yard line on the opposing side of the field. That's like unheard of. The Clayton Tune, that experiment is over. I don't think we're ever going to see him again. And right now, the Falcons are just middle of the pack against tight ends. Volume should be enough just to get him over the hump of what is a starting tight end in fantasy. Look, it's tight end. We say it all the time. Everyone talks about how tight ends it's tough. It's tough in the streets out there. You're just looking for a guy that's getting opportunity. Right now, this is it. He had 10 targets 2 weeks ago and a touchdown. Coming back with a better quarterback who is going to want to find his footing in his first game back after an ACL tear. He's going to be looking for guys like Marquise Brown and Trey McBride. The guys have been doing it with Joshua Dobbs. And as of late, that's been Trey McBride. So I do think you could start him. I'm thinking maybe top 8 tight end. Maybe not the best, but he ain't going to kill you because he's going to get the opportunity. He's going to get the targets, and he's got the upside for a touchdown. So.
Okay, I like Trey McBride. I mean, the potential's there for sure. I kind of hit the brakes a little bit just because I want to see Kyler and how he plays first. So, yeah, definitely, I would say I would put him at around 10 for me. There's not really anything exciting about any tight ends past that, I think, at this point. But I mean, I'm playing like Taysom Hill over him. I think Trey McBride, just from what we've seen. Um, how do you feel about like Cole Kmet? Playing Cole Kmet over Trey McBride or Trey McBride?
Probably going to stick with Trey McBride there.
Okay.
Just because Justin Fields is still doubtful. And Cole Kmet has been on the injury report this week. So with I believe it's a knee injury. Whether there's anything really to that or if they're just giving him rest days because they have a short week. They play tomorrow night, Thursday night against the Panthers. So easily winnable game, I think, because the Panthers aren't that great. But if it's Tyson Bagent, he's obviously have had a rapport with Cole Kmet. That was a little tough. I don't think I feel strongly either way, but I think I do slightly lean towards Trey McBride just because I think the volume is going to be a little bit more. You run on the Panthers. That's what you do. So I don't know how much of the passing game, unless Cole Kmet goes out again, scores 2 touchdowns on a couple targets, that very easily could happen. But it's hard to predict. I think I'd take the safer floor potential. What do you think about Kyler Murray?
That's what I was just about to ask
How
you, actually.
concerned are you about him? Because he's taken a lot of time off, coming back. All reports say he's fully ready to go. He's been involved in this offense, behind the scenes, obviously. But I mean, this is a quarterback that has top 5 potential every week. Depends on his rushing, but he's also a decent passer. So, are you overly concerned about Kyler Murray in his first game back against a poor defense, or would you play him over CJ Stroud? Asking for a friend.
Ooh, I mean, if I'm staring down these two, Honestly, it's the same narrative as I just said before. I think I'm taking the approach of waiting just 1 week, seeing how he looks, and then, adjusting and figuring it out from there. CJ Stroud is coming off a very, very good performance playing against the Cincinnati Bengals this week, granted in Cincinnati, but a game that you imagine is going to be a shootout. I mean, Houston's no slouch. They've been shooting it, and Joe Burrow's playing well. So I think if I was looking at these two options right now, Atlanta can also dud it. I mean, look, we don't know how Arizona is going to play. That's kind of just really where I'm at with that. So uh, uh, I'm definitely, I think, leaning Stroud over Murray for sure.
All right,
Uh,
I'll let my friend know.
yeah. So, but no, I mean, like I said, that's really, I think, the only way to do it. I'd put him probably about middle of the pack this week if I had to, if I was going to 1 through 32. There's only probably half of the quarterbacks I played for him and half. No, I'd play him instead of.
Gotcha. Yeah, I
At
just
least
wanted
you
to
don't
throw
have
it
to
out there.
decide if you, yeah, yeah. At least you don't have to decide between playing Kenny Pickett or Bajent this week. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
I would say I feel bad for you, but yeah, yeah, that's tough.
Alrighty.
It's
So
been
that,
it's been tough with
yeah,
quarterbacks.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be another tough week. So we'll see. Got Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Tua all on by. So some quarterbacks you need to look at for sure. I mean, Taylor Heineke's there probably in most leagues, I'd imagine right now. That's probably
And he
somebody I
should
would
stay
start
there.
with the hope that Kyler is going to go, you know. So
Yeah.
would you? Yeah, well, that's enough of that. So carrying on then. That's enough of the heroes of the week there. So, but moving on, some defensive streamers, something to really chat about there. And we're going to start with the one I see you put in there, the New York Jets versus the Raiders, and vice versa. So you think that the Jets are a good play against the Raiders? The very Jets that just fumbled the ball twice and literally let the Chargers walk it.
Yes, because they have a when I was looking at this, I was looking at who is a good defense. And the Jets, I think everyone would agree, have a great defense. Their offense puts them in kind of bad situations, which negatively affects them, but we haven't also seen a lot from Aiden O'Connell. I know they just blew up the Giants, but the Giants are just in a downward spiral. A high school JV team could probably put up a couple points against them too. They're not using their wide receivers the correct way. I mean, Devontae Adams has been just a complete bust as of late, and it's not even his fault. It's crazy what they're doing. So I'm just looking at it that the Jets can keep the scores low, probably get a couple sacks. Either way, you want to play the Jets or the Raiders. Playing against Zach Wilson is usually a lot of fun because there's always points aplenty. But
Yep,
I do think it could go either way.
yep. As somebody who played the Chargers this last week, definitely a solid idea. Yeah, so other ones looking at, I do like the Seahawks against the Commanders. Sam Howell's looked a little questionable. The sacks are there. Granted, they've gotten better, they've improved the line, but the addition there of one Leonard Williams, RIP, to our D line. This Giants fan. Anyway, yeah, no, I like the Seahawks. I think it'll be all right. Bears against Panthers, that's interesting. I mean, Bryce Young has looked questionable. Weapons around have looked questionable, so I like that one as well. Steelers Packers is the last little one there, and Steelers, I guess, what are you you're just really hoping there for is just, Mr. Watt to come running down and do what he does best, and we've seen Jordan Love just kind of be lackluster. So, it's definitely not a
Did
bad
you
way to go.
see the stat about Jordan Love that out of all the quarterbacks, he has had the longest time in the pocket So the cleanest
Really?
pocket to throw, and it's amounted to basically nothing.
Yeah,
He has
surprising
all the
because
time in the world to throw, and he does absolutely nothing with it, and it's affecting the entire Packers.
it's horrible. So yeah, just a couple there to list off, but yeah, either way, there's not really anything that stands out to me unless if you have the Dallas defense this week, then congratulations. Moving
Yeah,
on.
I'm going against the Dallas defense this week, and I'm projected to lose. They're on Yahoo. They're projected 11 points. The last time I remember a defense being basically projected out the gate was the year that the Patriots were just stomping people. It's been that long since I've seen that ever, and I'm definitely afraid to play that against that.
There's no way that Dallas defense doesn't put up less than 25 points.
I'm thinking 30 might be a good bar to set. If they're under 30, I might be a little surprised. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I'm
Brutal.
excited.
Brutal.
Is it week 11 yet?
Alrighty, so wrapping up here with the mailbag. Couple of questions here we have. So looking at the first one here from Drew Pack 299, a trade question here. Trading away Cooper Kupp and Tony Pollard. I'm sorry, acquiring Cooper Kupp and Tony Pollard, trading away Jonathan Taylor and Christian Kirk. What's your thoughts?
This one's. I mean, it's even. I don't think it's like you win or you lose the trade. It kind of depends. Um, for me, I think I lean the Cooper Kupp Tony Pollard side, just because I do think Tony Pollard could get started this week with having a big day against our New York Football Giants. Um, he's been really lackluster. It's just been inefficient. The passing game has been the main point of attack on the Dallas offense. Cooper Kupp has the elephant in the room of Matthew Stafford. Is he coming back? Is he not? They just signed Carson Wentz, and although I don't think Carson Wentz is great, I think he's better than the whatever it was we saw this past week with Brett Rippon. And Jonathan Taylor is getting a little bit more run. Last week was the first week since he returned that he took over more of the snaps. I think he played 45 compared to Zach Moss's 13. So he's definitely the dude there. That's no surprise at all. But Christian Kirk is kind of the one that I'm a little nervous about because he is pretty much matchup proof, it seems. He's the number one read in that offense. So I just think Tony Pollard is underperforming what he can do, and I do think he turns it around. And then if Cooper Kupp gets Stafford back in a couple weeks, I think that's the side that you would want. You ask me this in 3 weeks, I think it's an easy Cooper Kupp, Tony Pollard. So that's why I'm leaning that way. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
No, like if you can make that trade happen, if you can give away Jonathan Taylor and Christian Kirk to get Cooper Kupp and Tony Pollard, I think I would definitely lean that way as well. Um, Tony Pollard to me, I know has been disappointing, taken from somebody who traded for him this season. But
You're welcome.
yeah, thanks. So Tony Pollard has the upcoming schedule looking a lot easier than Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion. Jonathan Taylor still um, he has the bye week coming up in these in his next 2 weeks here, whereas Tony Pollard has already passed his bye week, so you have one more week of just having a player there that is still the RB1 on the team, so a player that you're definitely going to want. Um, and like I said, I mean the Giants, Carolina, Washington, Seattle, Buffalo, at as far as 5 out of the next 8 are fine. So I think better days are ahead for Tony Pollard. So with that, I would definitely ride him over Jonathan Taylor. And to me, Cooper Kupp, same thing. I mean, it still is Cooper Kupp. Christian Kirk is great and all, and has been looking good. But I don't know. I think there still is the Ridley conversation there, whereas we all know Cooper Kupp's the guy. So I would say do the trade if possible, get Cooper Kupp and Tony Pollard over the other two. Next question, Dynasty advice for example, Open 509. Which wide receiver would you rather have in Dynasty? Jerry Jeudy or Marquise Brown? Both unrestricted free agents in 2024, but Jeudy is 2 years younger.
All right,
For
so
me,
for me, it's actually pretty easy to me. I don't know how easy it is for you, but Marquise Brown,
okay, yeah,
Judy has been we've seen him flash a little bit, but he always gets injured. He's on an offense that has been just mind-boggling for the past 2 seasons. And this whole feud with him and Steve Smith, uh, that's not a good look. Like, take advice. It's been, I don't know, something doesn't seem to click. And I don't know if it's the offense that he's in, if it's the coaching, if it's the quarterback, what's going on, but he just hasn't lived up to that hype that we all had coming out in when he was drafted. Because he was drafted really high, and we were all. I remember when we were watching the draft, and our one friend, Mister J Love, is a Broncos fan, and we were like, "Wow, you got to steal on Jerry Judy," and we were excited for him, and it just hasn't worked out. And I don't know what's going on there, but Marquise Brown, I think the Cardinals are going to sign him because Kyler's going to be there next year. He's going to want someone to throw the ball to. Michael Wilson's been stepping up, but you also need a field stretcher, and that's Marquise Brown. So I think out of both of these guys, one has an opportunity next year, and the other one's going to be buried somewhere and just kind of fall off the wayside. So, is it easier for you, or do you disagree with everything I just said?
oh no, I definitely think I give the edge to Marquise Brown just because of the situation that he has versus Judy. But Judy's situation can switch, I think, more so than Marquise Brown right now. There is sort of talks where Judy's going to get traded and yada yada. So I think it really just depends on who's throwing him the ball. I mean, obviously Russell Wilson throwing him the ball is good, but it's not exactly the only target on the team for Russell Wilson. Whereas Marquise Brown is going to be that guy that DeAndre Hopkins was, or that field stretcher. But we know Marquise Brown is. So we know that Kyler likes to air it out sometimes, and with that, Marquise is the guy to catch that ball. So I like Marquise. I think, as I said, just a better path to success there, or for the foreseeable future right now. You know, but nonetheless, if Jerry Judy goes to a good home, I think I could, be looking at him in a different light. So, and just to add to your point, Marquise Brown was the 25th overall pick, and Jerry Judy the 15th in just two for 2019, 2020 draft, so 1 year apart there. And yeah, so both first round draft picks. Last but not least, breakfast top 6899. Trade advice. Trade away AJ Brown and Derrick Henry for Austin Eckler and Travis Kelsey.
For me, this one comes down to what is my tight end. Uh, if I have someone like Taysom Hill, I'm sticking with AJ Brown, Derrick Henry. If I have someone a lot less on the lower on the totem pole, like if I only have Cole Kmet, um, that or Luke Musgrave, I'm probably making the trade because Kelsey gives you an advantage. Eckler has been a little bit rough lately, but he should start going. Remember, he had a major injury as well this week. Well, not major, but he was out for a couple weeks with an ankle injury, so he's still getting his health back. That offense is getting better. I know Monday Night Football was bad, but they also played against a good defense. So AJ Brown is just on fire. Derrick Henry's schedule. I don't know if you've seen that. We could have said this at the top of the show, but he gets Houston twice in the playoffs. So and he just always destroys the Texans. It's just like one of those things. Like peanut butter goes with jelly. Derrick Henry goes with 170 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Texans. It's just Unfortunately, that's how it works. And if you have them, you like it. If you don't, it's not fun to go against. But I think either way, I might still lean towards AJ Brown and Derrick Henry because of that reason. AJ Brown has been on fire lately, so it's hard to get out of the flames there.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. AJ Brown and Derrick Henry for me is the way I lean. I love the connection there with Jalen Hurts. AJ Brown is killing it. And Derrick Henry, as mentioned, enough said there. I mean, we get to the playoffs time, and this man just goes on that incline downhill, and that's it. It's just over with. So it's definitely clear cut for me. AJ Brown, Derrick Henry.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that'll do it for today. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure as your host here from the top to the bottom. Follow us on the socials on X at the Heroes FF. Go ahead and drop any of the questions there at the website. Check us out on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and thank you for listening. God bless. Have a good night.
So long, everyone.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Heroes FF.